Why does massive breaking sports news, always seem to happen when I'm on vacation? Micah Parsons has been traded to the Green Bay Packers, and yeah, this deserves an emergency reaction, an instantaneous reaction. And Rosie the cat is here with me, looking down, making sure that I get this thing right, because she also thinks that Jerry Jones is a joke as a general manager. A reminder to subscribe to the channel by clicking on this button below me. That way you'll get notifications when we go live throughout the football season and have other videos like this. If you like what we're doing here, make sure you're a member by joining above. You get exclusive content if you are a member, and there is always merch at watchdastore.com. Okay, for the Packers, it gets them closer to winning a championship. For the Dallas Cowboys, it just reaffirms the disaster that is Jerry Jones as general manager. We start with the Cowboys side of things because you just can't believe that a franchise that is serious about winning would ever trade away a player as talented and as youthful as Micah Parsons. I'm going to give you a stat, okay, that to me sums up how ludicrous it is to trade away Micah Parsons. Now, I'm not the biggest Micah fan. I think when he gets compared to Lawrence Taylor, I think with all his slew of headline-making podcast clips, I think the fact that he loves to be a star as much as he does, in terms of talking, in terms of probably overexposing himself, instead of really focusing on the winning part of things, that part of Micah Parsons, I'm not a huge fan of. But the production is undeniable. Here are the stat I'm talking about. There are two players in the NFL, in the annals of the NFL dating back 50 years, who have had 4 seasons of 12 sacks or more to begin their career. 1 is Reggie White. 2 is Micah Parsons. We are talking about a player in Micah that has the same production as the greatest NFL defensive lineman of all time. And again, we're talking about a player that's in his mid-20s, entering his prime. To me, it is insanity to say that you want to win a Super Bowl while also trading away Micah Parsons. And this is why it is so ridiculous to claim that Jerry Jones cares about winning. He does not prioritize winning. Winning is a pleasant byproduct, but as long as he is famous, the most powerful figure within the organization, and everybody recognizes it, that's actually the priority. That has always been the priority. And it's very interesting, perhaps ironic, that we are watching in real time this Netflix documentary in which documents the Dallas Cowboys under Jerry Jones. It is interesting and ironic that that's the timing right now that we have as this thing goes down. Because if you watch the documentary closely, you notice that is really one big glamour shot for Jerry. Jerry clearly gave the documentary makers access to everything within the organization with the understanding, hey, you'll do right by me. He basically commissioned a biography about himself and wanted to make it cool. And you don't need to look much further than the part about the Herschel Walker trade, which of course jumpstarts the dynasty of the 90s, in skipping over who made that decision, who brainstormed that idea. That is not Jerry Jones' idea. That is Jimmy Johnson's idea. But the fact that the entire build of this franchise, in terms of why we're making a documentary about them, happens because of a trade that the head coach comes up with, and that is skipped over, tells you what is the most important piece of the puzzle for the storytelling. It is that Jerry is the focal point of everything. So in this case, finally, there was a Dallas Cowboy player whose integrity couldn't be bought. Jerry could go down this kind of rabbit hole of headline making and public negotiation and dismiss, embarrass Dak Prescott. He signed. CeeDee Lamb, he signed. Ezekiel Elliott, he signed. Zach Martin, he signed. All these guys signed, and Micah refused to do it. Micah refused to do it. There was too much water under the bridge. It became too personal for Micah Parsons to swallow and stomach. And so that's why he walked the line of, there ain't nothing bringing me back. You have to trade me, which is why we're at the part that we're at, which is why the Dallas Cowboys, who pretend to be a contender or a winning organization, would trade away a player of that production, of this age, at a moment where the franchise is still pretty good. I mean, we're talking about a team that has made the playoffs or danced with making the playoffs for how many years in a row now, with its franchise quarterback healthy under center, with a dynamic wide receiver, with pieces in place like a star linebacker to be able to contend in this division and in the NFC, at least for January. But they are unserious as a true championship contender. I look at the Buffalo Bills. Now, which position would you say is more easily fulfillable, more easily recyclable? Is it running back or is it edge rusher? The Buffalo Bills saw a window in time where they need to win a Super Bowl, that they've got all the pieces in place and that they are championship driven come hell or high water. And James Cook, despite having an incredibly deep backfield, one so deep that Frank Gore Jr., who had a tremendous preseason, didn't make the final cut. They gave James Cook the money because the Bills recognize this is their moment. The Dallas Cowboys, and by the way, you can find another running back to probably be James Cook, but it might be in next year's draft. And they're not willing to punt on a year of contending. Well, the Dallas Cowboys could be a contender, obviously, but when you punt on Micah Parsons, it's a lot harder to find a guy that has 12 sacks in his first 4 seasons. You know how I know that? Because the last guy was Reggie White. Let's go back to that. So it's just an unserious approach to winning games, winning divisions, winning playoffs, and winning Super Bowls. It's an unserious franchise because of Jerry at the top. And much ink has been spilled, much airwaves have been taken up, including my own, discussing what a hypocrisy it is that Jerry talks about Super Bowls, but rarely ever doesn't prioritize getting them, winning them. He prioritizes attention. That is his scoreboard attention. And this was another case where drawing attention to a negotiation was more important than getting the negotiation done. And it bit him. And it came back to bite him. And I think this is a lesson to Jerry, one that he will not learn, which is you can play and dance all you want in your sandbox that you built. You can get off on the fact that people are talking about you. You can love the fact that people are discussing you on TV shows and radio shows and on the internet, etc. But it will never help you win what is most important. It will help you win attention, but we are not in the attention economy when it comes to competitive sports. My industry, sure. In competitive sports, the scoreboard is not how much attention you get. It is whether you got the ring. And Jerry hasn't had one since Jimmy Johnson left, okay? And I'm not counting 95 with Barry Switzer because that was Jimmy Johnson's team that won in spite of Barry Switzer. Ask anybody on that team. As for the Packers are doing what a winning franchise does, saying this price is worth it to get this player because we're close. And this player, Micah Parsons in this instance, might do what we need him to do to hoist a Vince Lombardi trophy, that he might be that final piece. And perhaps they believe that he is definitely that final piece, and that's why this cost is not too much. It's 2 first-rounders and Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark is a really good player. But you know what the Green Bay Packers have done throughout their last 40 years, 30 years, is draft really good players. It is why they have won Super Bowls in the last 30 years. It is why they have gone to NFC championship games on a relatively regular basis compared to the Cowboys. It is why they have gone from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to a pretty good quarterback right now in Jordan Love. It's because they draft and develop well. And they rarely, they never do anything for the attention. They do it for the winning, for the W's, for the on-field product. And Micah immediately makes them better. And I would say in the NFC, where the Philadelphia Eagles are clearly the power to be toppled, the Eagles proved 2 years ago how kind of up and down their roller coaster can be. There's the Washington Commanders, who have a dynamic young quarterback, but have to do it again, what they proved to us last year. You have a Lions franchise who has been knocking on the door, but unable to break through. You have a Niners franchise that might be now aged out of their championship window. And you have a couple of others that are around the NFC, but probably not true Super Bowl contenders. The Packers have now squarely put themselves at the top, or at least near the top, of contenders in that conference, as the other ones have some type of question mark. Doesn't mean that the Packers don't have question marks, but it just means that they eliminated one of them, or might have erased a couple of them in one fell swoop because Micah is so good. I think what you see here is this kind of delineation between serious franchise and unserious franchise. The Packers want to win a Super Bowl, and they're doing what they feel like they need to do it. The Cowboys are not. The Cowboys let attention and feelings and personal stuff get in the middle of everything, and that is led by none other than Jerry Jones, who needs to always feel the most important and needs to always be the most famous. The price is not too much for the Packers. Their first-round draft picks are going to average to be in the mid-20s. That's the type of franchise they are. Clark is a really good player, a Pro Bowl caliber player, but not one that is a type of player that's irreplaceable. So for the Packers, you trade away 2 1s and Kenny Clark to give yourself what you believe is now a window to win a Super Bowl of 5 to 7 years. Young quarterback, some young good pieces, a young edge rusher, and a head coach that's a really good head coach. You have now, as a Packers fan, gotten more evidence that your franchise is being stewarded by smart people at the top who do want to seize the moment. If you're a Cowboys fan, you have been reminded once again of the kind of hellscape you reside in. The 90s were wonderful. The 70s were incredible. But it's been a long time since the Dallas Cowboys had winning as their North Star on their compass. This is just the next chapter in all of that. A reminder to subscribe to the channel by clicking on this button below me. Also, become a member for exclusive content by joining up above. We go live every Sunday night on Watch DA Live. And so if you're a football fan, you want the full recap of everything that I'm talking about, everything I'm seeing on a Sunday, plus live guests of NFL insiders, former players, coaches, etc., come to us on this YouTube channel Sunday nights at 7:30 Eastern time. We do an hour before kickoff of Sunday Night Football. All right, I'll get back to vacation, but if anything else breaks massive like this, I'll be here for it. Just ask Rosie the cat. Be good. Be good to one another. I'm DA. Thanks for watching. Signing off.